Hello, my name is Dea Arimbawa. I'm in my final year of BA Architecture at Birmingham City University, and now I'll be presenting my final year project. This project is anchored to the concept of seeing. First, I will quickly summarize the background of this proposal. In conclusion, the studio encouraged us to be an institutionist on a turn fake, where it aimed to create a new meaning of an urban space. This anchored the project led me to the concept of unseeing, which means to see the conceptual field forces and form in the result to find the field diagram in a conceptual form. And in this term, I will move from the idea of unseeing to seeing, where it is to manipulate these two conceptual elements into an architectural project. In seeing, the brief is to create a halfway house and community center for an ex-convict in purpose to adjust them in an in-between space before they regenerate back into the society. The purpose is to gradually adjust the user's experience towards the architecture building. And bringing the concept of seeing is to design an architectural building that gradually increases the level of freedom by manipulating the space to fit a certain level of seeing. The ex-convict, especially the one who has been living in prison for years, has been adapted to a living condition that supposedly punished their existence, where architecture design is lacking of opening, sometimes overcrowded space, natural light, and material that does not bring up the atmospheric within the space. The idea lays on the problem where when the users finally release back into the society, there is a big jump from where there are so many limitations of an architectural space to almost infinite limitation of an architectural space, which leads to many further well-being issues. There are different ways to manipulate the space through opening, opacity, light, or atmosphere and materiality. Within this project, three main space focus, where I will mostly try to control and manipulate space through openings, light, opacity, and materiality. Then we move to the macro scale of this project. The site is located in Digbeth, Birmingham. This is the field diagram, which is an anchor of the project. From the field diagram, which is only faces the north side of the plan, I start to rotate to see all different sides of its field forces towards the side. And here's is the conceptual form, where in here I experiment in terms of its scale and see which one fits the most to this side. Then where the field diagram interconnects, I created a rule of thumb to this project to allow me to define the project. In here, three main levels of seeing will be analyzed. The conceptual form that consists of three conceptual plates, which each of these plates will represent each different level of views. From finding the anchor of the project, I started to see the architectural form within the conceptual form and field diagram. In there, I created a matrix of how I will start to analyze and see the massing of a building according to the rule of seeing. From the matrix, I will be focusing on the right-hand side of the massing, which is the appropriate massing to the project, and it fit within the rule of thumb and within the site itself. Foreseeing is a device, and its purpose is to allow the project to have a systematic program to help to manipulate this scene from inside to outside. Many have its pros and cons, but one upmost problem is I'm trying to avoid is the glare issue that may happen if the foreseeing shape have a high contrast of light within the inside to outside space. From there, I also experiment on its potential materiality. First is glass, which has its own advantage to be able to control the opacity, but to have each individual of them to be made in different gradient on openings and also opacity seems to be a difficult problem. Second is timber. Timber is a light material to be used as a skin of a building, and it has its own signature atmospheric sense on how it reflects and casts light but within the space. But with the mock-up frames, and I experiment with shadows, the results are not really the one I'm looking after. The third material is cast concrete, which I will be used with as a material of this device. Concrete as a material seems to fit within the industrial urban context of Digbit, and from the experiment I did, it beautifully cast shadows. From the shape experimentation and materiality, the final forcing device is taken place. And for the gradual of seeing, a systematic program is made to gradually increase the level of seeing as it goes up a level. To go back to the rule of thumb of views levels, due to each individual views are placed in a different direction, they may lead to a different solid grade level throughout the year. For example, views 1, where it faces west direction, and the problem may lay during the summer solstice, where there are high solar green and mostly during the afternoon, which the forcing will act as a louvers and filter some of the solar grain. A bigger problem may occur during the winter solstice, where the sun sits on a low angle and there will be lacking of solar grain within the building. To be taken into consideration is the depth of the building, where in conclusion, some manipulation of the facade will have to be made. In view 1, there will be more opening enough to bring some of natural light during winter solstice. This is a systematic program of how the facade will be cast within the building. And this is how the forcing concrete panel will join into the building in more detail. Lastly, this is the final outcome of the seeing project. In this diagram, it shows how the foreseeing fit within the space and how it obstructs seeing and obstructs light. This is how the building sits within the context of Digbit. This is the roof plan of the building that shows the landscape and the condition of the site. This is the ground floor plan of the building. This is the first floor plan of the building. This is the second floor plan of the building. This is the third floor plan of the building. And lastly, the roof plan of the building. In this sectional perspective, it shows clearly how the forcing device manipulates the space and controls the seeing level within a space, and how it gradually opens up as it goes up the level. This is a perspective drawing of the building facing east. This is a perspective drawing of the building facing north. This is how the halfway house will be designed. This is the interior. Shows how the lights affect the interior space within the halfway house. This shows a perspective of the building on the north angle. This is the first view of the building, the second view of the building, and the third views of the building. Thank you very much for watching.